conservative, and conservatives obviously are always concerned about the implementation of any provincial projects, mostly on a fiscal sense, because it's crucial to determine a project based off of what we can actually afford. And this was part of the platform and discussion between conservatives and NDPs and what we've had in our voters here. I recently discovered here in Transcona that there's a big election promise basically coming up. It wasn't phrased like that, but the only care home in this area where we live here, or at least where I live, where you used to live, Adam.
I used to live here.
But there's like 80,000 people or something in Transcona.
It's a big part of the city for sure.
Yeah, and there's only one care home, and our aging population needs it. So the health minister showed up to Park Manor Care and made a beautiful speech saying they're going to increase the platform or the care home 90 beds, extra beds. It was like, okay, cool. It used to be 120 beds that was suggested by the previous plans, which was almost a decade ago. So
give us some perspective. How many are there now?
Yeah, currently there's 100 beds.
So it's almost going to double in size.
Yeah, and the previous Conservative government, they did note lost beds. They make it seem like the critics or the government made it seem like it was under mostly their decision making, but it was really mostly from the closure of one specifically large care home that couldn't manage its infrastructure anymore. But regardless of those facts, the NDP had showed up in Transcona and made the promise that they're going to make 90 instead of 120 beds. And they're going to eventually build this thing, or at least shovels in the ground by the end of the year. And so they promise. I don't believe it, because you know what? I'm an old guy who's already seen it promised once time before and pushed back.
Well, you're not
by NDP.
You're not that old, but let's face it. I mean, this will be good for you when you are old and you have to go live in a care home.
Well, I'm mostly getting to the point on this. Like, yeah, it would be good. I'm not going to deny the fact that if this current government actually gets it done, it could be good for the people. Where this topic is all in relations to Abhi Khan's criticism, which I thought was fair. The previous NDP government tried the entire time that they were in office to get this care home built and never succeeded. Had to take it back to the drawing boards because they were critical of the drawings and designs a whole bunch, and never actually implemented. And then what happened was basically a conservative government took over, and they wanted to build the project too. However, being fiscally conservative, they looked at metrics which maybe wasn't the best, and they decided that, it seems cheaper from some of these metrics we're seeing that care homes should be built at a metric, a statistic of like 110 to $150,000 per bed that you're getting, versus projects that may actually be costing you like $300,000 per bed.
Well, how does that get affected though when you have inflation and whatnot and things get more expensive?
It will totally affect it, but all I'm saying is from the outcome of the conservative government that we just previously had, they're looking at it thinking, well, we can actually get more bang for our buck if we pay out like around $110 or $1,000 or something per bed over this project that's $300. So obviously there was a disagreement and the project ended up getting canned.
Well, that's a lot of cut though, like to go from 300 to 110 per bed.
Yeah. Well,
are you really going to get a quality product out of that?
Yeah, that's part of the issue. Was it a good case study based off of the previous two governments? Probably not, but this is the way governments... The NDP initiated these studies, and they initiated this project that never got off the ground. I can fully understand, based off this one real-life situation here in Transcona, where they basically say, hey, you know what? We were making this big promise. They came out here now saying there's $72 million and they're going to build this care home by 2028 and shovels will be in the ground. No, that's not going to happen. Nobody knows about it except for this government that made the promise just randomly out of their butts. So
that's what politicians do, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why, as you mentioned previously, we should criticize them when they say things and do otherwise. It's up to us to keep them accountable.
Yeah, and so to Abhi Khan's point, maybe making better decisions, having better decision-making processes, as he was talking about in this one interview that I said, hey, I'm willing to listen to this, explain it more, take better control of the media and get your message out there, Abhi, because I would actually like to hear it. But to the point of the NDP that are currently sitting here making promises, I want to make one other point. Adam, do you know why They showed up in Transcona with 80,000 something people to say that there will be that care home that you guys heard about for a long time.
Are they a little bit concerned about some sort of upcoming election?
That is correct. We unfortunately lost an MLA here in Transcona, Nello Altamar, and he was a loved guy. But the thing is, life moves on. Unfortunately, that means a by-election will be happening. So prior to that by-election being announced, a big promise was made that was in the hearts of a lot of Transconians here. So
Transconians.
that's basically the clarity of the whole promise that we're getting here. It's a election promise. It's not a real thing. It's an election promise. It might happen. I'm not going to be negative, but a realist will tell you they're only coming here making this promise with no actual plans in place because they want to retain the seat that Nello Altamar had originally held.
So your viewpoint is this is all talk and it's not actually going to happen. Like,
Thank you for asking.
Won't be a thing.
Listen, the regional health authority and the care home itself are likely both to be on board. You know, they have been talking about it. Organizations have been excited about it for a long time. Getting the funding was difficult because, you know what it was? It was a partnership between the federal government, the provincial government, and the municipal / the organization, all to raise portions of this fund. That never got it off the ground. Manitoba Health is run by the Manitoba government. They should, at basically, as it is with most of the situations in all our care places, they do the funding. So why not let Manitoba government take over? And that's what they're promising here. They're promising $72 million, build this place, they'll fund it all. So great, that will be great. But the reality of this situation is, it's just a promise at this point. Nobody knows anything about what's going on, and nothing is going on right now. So it's a promise. That's all it is. Politicians make promises. I don't like it. I like it when they actually have something solid to say and do, because don't make everybody look bad with your like. Let me ask you, Adam, how do you feel when you hear these promises? Do you get worked up? Do you get excited? Do you like hearing it? And then does the realistic side come into place of you? Like, do you actually believe in these people?
Well, that's a good question, Josh. What commonly seems to happen is we'll have a government come out and they'll promise something and people will be hyped about it. And, you know, it'll be either a good idea or a bad one. But if it is a good idea, but it comes with larger costs or other, maybe it's environmental implications or something like that, what we'll see is very little happens, as you're saying, for quite a number of years. It gets kicked down the road, and then they will re-announce it over and over again, like it's a new announcement, hoping people aren't really paying attention. But you know, in the town that I live in, there's a recreational center being built there, and I think they're finally shovels in the ground. But it was announced probably at least 3 or 4 times by I think several different governments that this was going to be done. So, you know, that's kind of to your point. There's a lot of talk, and it takes way too long to get these things started.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and.
But on that note, what's your prediction for this care home? They're saying 2028. What's your prediction right now? Just what do you think is going to happen?
Honestly, I'm not even putting any effort into predicting it. Like, this is the way.
It's okay to be wrong. Just say what you think is going to happen.
The way I see it happening is, I see it just being like you're saying. It's just going to be a promise that they're going to just keep repeating, because.
But they've already been doing that for a few years, like for quite a few years.
They can keep doing it. Like,
well, eventually,
nobody's holding them accountable. They're like, yeah, the NDP are going to do this and that. Yeah, just do it already then. Like, make it happen. Go and get yourself an engineering firm. Go and get yourself a construction manager and start the process. Open the negotiations. Talk to the regional health authority. Talk to the organization that you're trying to build a facility for, and just like make meetings happen and start doing it, you know?
So you won't give me a prediction? No, you won't just be like, I think this will happen.
I think Casper will bark at me if I start giving a prediction, but...
Well, that's why he's here.
Well, hello.
There you are, Casper.
His prediction is it ain't happening anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not.